A few years ago, African Tech Roundup received a $25,000 grant from a blockchain foundation, Celo tokens. Now, during the bull run, that bag briefly tripled in value in fiat terms, but instead of converting to fiat like we were supposed to, we held. And by the time we needed the money, the market had turned and we'd operated at a loss and we'd ended up forfeiting $10,000 rather than continue. I learned something about myself that day, about my own susceptibility to mistaking ideology for investment thesis. And that's why I recently listened to this, Silicon Valley tech executive I quite rate, someone with African roots now based in Singapore. I listened to him with some skepticism because he's building something in the crypto space in stealth, and he spent a hot minute trying to convince me that Bitcoin is different. His thesis around Bitcoin's suitability as reserve currency resonates with the lived African experience for sure, but here's what's actually happening on Wall Street. MicroStrategy, a US software company that now calls itself a Bitcoin Treasury Company, has raised billions through blue chip corporate debt to buy Bitcoin. And by late last year, they'd accumulated over 2% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. Their market cap, $80 billion. And US regulators haven't tried to stop this. Instead, they've tightened guardrails around disclosure, accounting, trading conduct. In other words, the institutions aren't fighting Bitcoin so much as absorbing it. And here's the thing that just keeps, hacking in my little mind. I wrote something for the BBC back in 2019 about Facebook's Libra, their attempt to create a global digital currency back when Zuck really did think he could run the World Bank. And back then, I was skeptical of any corporation consolidating financial power in the name of inclusion. And of course, Libra died, but the instinct behind it did not. Bitcoin was supposed to be this complete opposite to this. Peer-to-peer, no intermediaries, no gatekeepers. And now it's becoming pristine collateral, as some call it, for the same institutions it was supposedly designed to circumvent. It's like this perfect paradox. The stability Bitcoin needs to properly mainstream requires exactly the same institutional participation it was meant to bypass. And when I shared my column with my source, his response was interesting, to say the least. This isn't some conspiratorial enthusiast dabbling. He said, basically paraphrasing, Bitcoin is the best solution to devaluation and freedom of money movement right now, but it may not always be. That's not blind maximalism. That's someone acknowledging the tension. I love that meme, by the way. I reckon when something sounds revolutionary but functions as rearrangement, pay attention to who's designing the replacement.
Ready? Let's go.